Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive.
Game over!
Take it light. Okay.
Now you're more fluent.
Mackinac, he got three!
Up, Bears.
So this is really good right here. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Yes, sir. I don't know what I like more. I don't know what I'm just fluent today. I'm just fluent today, but don't worry, because for those that have been bugging me, you can definitely go to fluent.printify.me. I'll put the link up in a minute and get you one of these too.
Get one.
These too.
Get one.
I reduced the price for the people at home because they were saying they needed a little bit of a deal for the summer months. I said, no problem. Here you go. You know, I take care of it.
We'll work with you. We'll work with you. Say something. We will work with you.
Something really cool? I ain't gonna do it because we got to talk about Starbout.pro later. But check out this background that I created that as we talking is do I don't know. See, I put it in, but I'm like, is it gonna distract? Or do you think we'd get used to it after a while and we just ignore it?
It might throw some people off.
I think it's a lot. All right, I'll go back to that.
Just so you guys know, Tone is the kid that's playing with video games, and he's not just playing the video game. He wants to know how the game board works. Not only the game board, the video game that's in the video game. He wants to know how that works, and he's playing with all. And then you find out all types of new stuff about the video game. That's because of this dude right here.
I wish.
Dude right here.
I wish they paid the kind of money they pay now for people to play games, because when I was of the age of people doing their thing now, I kid you not, I played who was supposed to be the best Madden player in our neighborhood. I didn't win by this much because I didn't play the fourth quarter. It was 86-0 when he smashed the controller. Because he was the one that he was beating everybody, and they're like, yo, my man Tone, he's pretty good too at Madden. Why don't you, like, we haven't been able to beat him. Why don't you? Oh, I'm gonna show him.
No, you're not.
No, not. They had me come. They had me come to the barbershop to play one of the earlier versions of NBA, I guess 2K. It was before 2K, I believe. It might have been. No, it might have been. No, it was 2K. It was still 2K, but it wasn't like, it was like 2K4. Like, it wasn't. And they gave me a remote. They gave me a controller. I called it a remote. They gave me a controller. And they're like, oh, just one thing. There's no turbo on that. No problem.
Yes,
No. There's no turbo. No, the turbo button didn't work.
Okay.
Well, I had to be. I was like, no problem. I'll just be like John Stockton. I was just, I'll just kill you slow. Man, I missed. If I would, it's funny how we talk about eras, and if this person would have been born in a different, era, I'd be making millions.
Tone might be a gamer right now. He might be
100%, because I feel it when Fluent Junior says, "Hey, play 2K with me." I'm like, cool. Like I'm still in it, but the arthritis in the hands, just can't. All right, we got a lot of stuff.
Yes, we do. A lot of stuff to talk about.
Is there anywhere you want to what's up to the chat? First of all, we got our dude from the UK. It's 1:00 in the morning checking us out. Salute to the Greatness Gaming. Oh, see, I didn't even see that. See, you could sign me up. I could be, if there's a senior tour, I'd be I can do that. Where do you I'm just gonna go down the list.
Yep.
Boston Celtics win game 2.
Yep.
In control. Like you said, I'm going to read what you said. Boston is in control of this series.
Yes,
are they though?
Yes,
are they though?
Yes, they are. 100% they are in control of this series. There aren't many series, Tone, when I see a team win both of their home games and not think that they're not in control of this series. They've dominated almost every aspect of this game against the Dallas Mavericks. They've dominated at the rim. I think Kyrie Irving in this series, I think he's shooting over 70% at the rim. That's less than, that's more than what he's been doing against Oklahoma City, against Minnesota, against the Clippers, and they're still losing, and they're still losing mightily. They got dominated in game one. Boston had them as many as 29 in the hole. They let them back in the game. And then against Boston on Sunday, I think they had them 14 or 15 in the hole. They've dominated just about every aspect of this game, whether it's on the glass, whether it's at the long ball line, which they haven't they didn't shoot the long ball well at all in that game. I think they were 7 for 30, 7 for 36, or 7 for 33, but they defended. And Dallas was just as bad, if not worse. I think they were 6 for 26 on the long ball. That's because Luka is getting other guys involved. They're just not making shots. And they're not making shots because they're getting closed out on better. Not only are they getting closed out on better, they got a guard on the other end. They basically have the same plan that Oklahoma City had. And what Oklahoma City's plan was PJ Washington, you got to make open shots. I mean, you got to make shots, but you're not going to make wide open corner threes. No, we're not. We're going to eliminate that. We're going to take that away. Derek Jones Jr., we're going to make you make shots too, but we're going to close out a little bit better than what Oklahoma City did. We're going to put pressure on. We're going to put pressure on the rim and getting downhill, so these guys end up collapsing. That's why Jayson Tatum has 2 and 3 guys on him, and he's able to kick out to Drew Holiday. He's able to kick out to Jaylen Brown. He's able to kick it out to Derek White. They didn't knock down shots in game 2, but they damn sure did knock down shots in game 1. Now, in game 2, I think it was a little bit different in the aspect that the one guy, and we're going to talk about this later in terms of the injury, but the way that they play Porzingis in this lineup, the way that they play him in this lineup is pretty remarkable, Tone. He's the difference in what they're doing because he's the guy who they don't have an answer for. I don't think they got an answer for any of the guys that they have, but they don't have an answer specifically for him. What they do is they force switching action with Porzingis, where Jayson Tatum's coming down on the left side of the floor. Jayson Tatum has Derek Jones Jr. in front of him, or Derek White's coming down the left side of the floor, and he's got Kyrie Irving on him. Porzingis comes up to set the screen, and they force that switch. Instead of him getting around it, they force that switch. And once they force that switch, Derek White gets wide. Basically what Denver would do. And now you got a one-on-one. You got a one-on-one with Porzingis at the mid-post with Kyrie Irving, or a one-on-one with Porzingis at the mid-post with Derek Jones Jr. Here's the difference, though, Tone. The difference is that instead of with Joker being at the nail and MPJ standing at the three-point line, no. What Mazzulla does is he'll clear the whole side of the floor out. You and him. Just you and him. That way there's no help, especially if he's on the left side of the floor and he's at the elbow. There's no help. It's just you and him. And Porzingis is 7'3", going up against a 6'6" guy, or Kyrie Irving, who is a 6'1" guy, who'll just shoot right over the top of him. And there's really nothing that he can do. This is a personnel issue more than anything, Tone. And because this is a personnel issue, Dallas doesn't have the personnel to match up with what Boston is doing. I think Drew Holiday's doing a great job in handling Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is such a phenomenal one-on-one player. But the idea of getting around him, the idea of getting around Drew Holiday, that's tough. So Dallas got their hands full, Tone. All Boston did was defend their home floor. That's it.
And that's why I'm hoping this works, because I don't want to rain on your parade. It worked. Check it out. I'm learning some more gestures. But that's why I said I don't agree with you that they're in control, because in control would mean they've done something extraordinary. They've done something that Dallas can't come back from. And in reality, you hit it right at the end there. All Boston did was do what they were supposed to do, which is win their 2 games at home. Mm-hmm. That's what they did. They won their 2 games at home. Now, they won them in a fashion that most people are going to be surprised by, because really it was Porzingis game 1. Let's be honest. It was Drew Holiday in game 2, right? Like when all else failed, right? They weren't shooting well. I've said this a million times. I want to say Tatum was 1 for 7. The Celtics as a team were 1 for 11 from 3. Mm-hmm. Drew Holiday gave you one of those games, and this is why I said that was a huge pickup for them over Marcus Smart, because he gives you the same, if not better, defense, but the ability to score efficiently when you need him. Because not only did he drop 24 or whatever. He did it on like 11 of 14, 11 of 16. He did it very efficiently. And that's, I can go score you 20. I might have to take 30 shots. Right? So he did it efficiently.
Right.
So that's why I say they're not necessarily, they're in control in the sense they're up 2-0.
Right.
But all they did was win their 2 games at home. Dallas needs to go back to Dallas now and win their 2 games and prove Kyrie right when he says we'll see you for game 5.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest issue in terms of, I'm going to start with Dallas, is Kyrie can't be, I told you this before the series started, they're going to need 30 and 35 from Kyrie and Luka every night.
So you're looking at 65 to 70 between both of them.
That's what they need for this team to beat Boston, because they don't have the depth, right? They don't have, if you look at Tatum can drop 25, 30. Brown can drop 25, 30.
Right.
Drew Holiday showed you he can drop 25. Porzingis can drop 25. Like, they have a bunch of guys who can drop 25, 30 on you.
Right.
So any given night, you're going to get at least 2 of them. I think it's very rare that you're going to see all of them just stink.
Right.
So those 2 have to be consistent, because with all due respect, even if you get good shooting from PJ Washington, even if you get 100% field goal makes from Lively,
right,
they're not going to give you 25 or 30.
Right.
So when he's averaging, what's he averaging? 14, 15 for these first 2 games?
14 a game.
It's not going to get it done. That's not going to get it done. They need him and Luka to be scorers. And then that gets when they have to then push up on. Now, they might not be able to do it because of the Boston defense. However, that's what they need, because then when they push up, now PJ gets those open shots. Lively and Gafford get those alley-oops, right, which was very effective against Denver.
Right.
So I think the key here is Kyrie and his ability to, he's got to score. He's got to efficiently, look, that's everybody, but he has to score efficiently if they're going to beat Boston.
Now Tone, wouldn't that be the extraordinary thing that they're doing? Because if you look at Dallas's offense, Dallas had one of the better offenses in the league. I think they was in the top 10 in the league in offense. Not only that, I think they were right outside. I think they were right outside the top 5 in points per game. Now, a lot of people will look at points per game and go, well, it depends on when you got them. I don't care. 118 in the NBA is 118. That's a lot of points that you're getting every night. But with that being said, the fact that Boston's defense is holding them down and doing the job that they're doing on Kyrie Irving, who, by the way, just went up against the best defense in the league against Minnesota and torched them. Went up against the Clippers, who, in Tone's illustrious words, the Buffalo Braves, that bomb squad that they had, and he was basically their best player in that series. So now here we are against Boston, who is a mirror image of Minnesota defensively, only except we have better offense. We have more options offensively. We have better schemes offensively, because that's been Minnesota's biggest problem all year long. It's been their offense. So now, even if we're not making shots, we can still do other things offensively, as opposed to Minnesota, who was limited offensively. It wasn't really a lot of stuff that they went to. They don't shoot the long ball like that. The Celtics shoot the long ball, and when they're not shooting the long ball, we're good enough defensively that we can hold you guys. We can hold the rest of you guys down, because we have more guys than what Minnesota had. Minnesota's got a young Jaden McDaniels, I think he's in year 2 or something like that. The Celtics have vets, and not just vets, guys on the wing who can guard, and turn defense into offense. Jaylen Brown, Derek White, guys like that who can turn defense into offense. Jayson Tatum getting downhill after turning their defense into offense. So I do think that the one extraordinary thing that they're doing is defending. Now, people will look at Luka and go, well, Luka's 30. I think he's 30 and 11 in this series. Well, those are the box score watches, Tone. Just so you know, I think they're doing a pretty damn good job on Luka.
No, it's as hard, as crazy as this is, or how crazy it's going to sound, this is the toughest 30 and 10 that someone's had to put up. Right. And let's not forget, and I'm not making an excuse, he is injured. Right. And for all of, and this, listen, remember I told everybody, whoa, slow down. When the best backcourt ever since the no, dude, it's still Kyrie. And listen, let me go back a step. I didn't say it was going to be easy. What I said was, if Dallas is going to win, that's what they have to do. Boston's job, and they've done an exceptional job of it, is to stop them from doing it, which is what they've done, right? Because the other thing that Dallas was great at for the last half of the season, they were the number one defensive, number one rebounding team.
Right.
Well, it doesn't look that number one right now against Boston, but we've said all season, right? What did I say all season? I want this team. I want that team, but Boston has the deepest roster, and if they're healthy, they're winning it. I think we've said it the whole season. Everyone has said it. And that's going to be a bit of a problem.
Yes, it is. And if you look at the biggest problem that they have, the biggest problem that Dallas has is their other guys aren't making shots more than anything. But
you don't expect them to make shots either.
I do though, Tone. Yes, I do. And the reason why I do is because yes, Tone. That's why they got Derek. That's why they got Derek Lively. That's why they got Gafford. Now don't get me wrong. In the beginning of the season, I thought Lively was a project. I thought he was going to be somebody that they were going to have to work him into the lineup. He's fit perfect with them. Daniel Gafford. They actually went to him early against Jayson Tatum when they go to that small ball lineup, and they put Jayson Tatum at the 5. Well, I don't expect them to go to Daniel Gafford all night long, but they did get some production from him. With that being said, that's not enough. That is not enough. That was my biggest problem with how Luka was operating in that offense, because I'd see Luka he's so responsible for everybody else outside of Kyrie Irving. He's so responsible for everybody else's offense that I worry that why does he have to do so much? And he does. He literally
this analogy is going to sound horrible, but they're like his children. He has like babies. If he doesn't spoon feed them, they don't eat.
We all sitting at the table, Tone, and we got our knives and forks and banging, but hungry. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna eat and I'm gonna get you something. Meanwhile, Kyrie Irving, he's not sitting at the table. He in the kitchen. I don't need you to cook for me. I'm good.
No, he's cooking his ownmeal and eating it. Yeah.
I'm good. I don't need you to do that for me, which works, right? I think that works for him.
It works for him, and the problem is it has worked for Dallas because they've made it to the NBA final. Right. But this is what people were calling me wrong, and I was right. But this is why I kept picking against Dallas the whole season and every round, and even this round I picked Boston. It's because
I don't. You had them losing to the Clippers. I couldn't believe it.
I did. Well, I did because I looked at that team and I watched that team, and you know what I tell you, I always any of those teams that seem like need to be watched, I go and I watch them in person. And if you can remember back when they came to Toronto, and I said, it seems like it's two teams. It seems like Luka's running it, then Kyrie's running it, and everybody else is just like, taking some table scraps. And I don't know how they're going to make that work. Now, to their credit, they made it work against the Braves. They made it work against
Oklahoma City.
They made it work against Minnesota, who maybe Minnesota got very lucky and shouldn't have even been there. But now you're facing a team that even with, Porzingis, I know you say day to day, and I know we're going to talk about it more in a little bit, but he's gone. As far as I'm concerned, he's out of this series, which is too bad because he came out in game 1 and looked like better than he's ever looked. Forget the same. He looked better. It was kind of like an extended version of that KD, that 5 minutes he played in Toronto.
Yeah.
He looked great.
Yeah.
But this is going to, it's finally come to a head where now all of their deficiencies you're starting to see, because here's a team that really doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. They have defense, they have ball handlers, they have scorers everywhere on the court. Like, they have big men, they have small forwards, they have guards, everyone who can score, everyone who can defend. Now, look, maybe it doesn't matter who they play. Maybe this is just Boston's year. That being said, if this is Boston's year, I know it's only 2 games in, but I started the show by saying game 1 was Porzingis. Game 2, Holiday. If we go 3 and 4 and it's someone different each time, who's the Finals MVP?
I'm glad you brought that up, Tone, and that's a silky segue because
it's like I've been doing this for a few years.
Yeah, that's a silky segue because when for as long as you can remember, Tone, from watching when you first started watching when Magic first came about, right? The best players on the team, we knew who they were. And when the playoffs started, they started to separate themselves from everybody else. We haven't had that we haven't had that in this finals. We haven't had a guy separate himself. So I'm thinking to myself, because I'll go back to when you first started watching, Tone, when you talked about Magic. Jabbar separated himself from everybody else. As good as Magic was, as good as Michael Cooper, Jabbar separated himself.
I'm on record as telling you, even though Magic put up 42, 15, and 75,
that was Jabbar's MVP. That was
Jabbar was still the MVP.
Yeah, that was Jabbar's
that
MVP.
Series. Now, they gave it to Magic. I'm happy he's my favorite player.
Yep.
But when I take the fan hat off, I look at it and say they did it because they knew he's a rookie and they want to build the game, and they're not going to build it with a 33-year-old Kareem. They didn't know he was going to play till he was 41. They're not going to, right? Because don't forget, when Magic, right before Magic got there, they were like, "Is Kareem on his last legs?"
He was
like,
he was on his way out of Los Angeles. That was the word.
Magic gave him another 8-9 years.
Yes.
So, but they didn't know that. So it's like, hey, we know that it's this Magic Bird thing. Bird wins the Rookie of the Year. Magic's going to win the Finals MVP. Hey, that's great marketing.
Sure.
But if I look at it from a, basketball perspective, that was Kareem's MVP.
Yes, it was.
He was the best player, by far, the best player.
100%.
Yeah.
So you get those guys, Bird in 84, right? Bird separates himself. What's up, young fella? Bird separates himself from the rest of the pack. Magic separates himself in 87. Jordan. These guys separate themselves by doing not just the other stuff, but dominating the game as a bucket getter. You've seen that, Tone. And the example that I give, and you're a football guy, so you can appreciate this. Okay, it's nice that Emmitt Smith can pick up the blitz. That's great, right? It's nice that we can hit Derrick Henry in the flat for 4 or 5 yards. But at some point, I'm going to stick this ball in your gut, and we got to move up the field, yo. We have to move up the field.
And that is a great analogy, because you're going to hear a lot of people say, well, Tatum's been playing really good defense. Tatum's been rebounding the ball fantastic. But you know what the voters are going to look at? He's not scoring the ball real well. He hasn't been efficient. And if he continues, because and this is sad, but true, they're also going to look at last year. And they're going to 2 years ago, 2 years ago, and say, oh, he did the same thing in the finals. He's just not a finals performer.
Right.
He's going to get to more, I think, maybe equal, maybe I was going to say to a lesser extent, maybe a greater extent, the Steph Curry treatment. Because Steph Curry was still the best player on those Warriors teams,
I think,
and just never got the fight. Like, right, we gave it to Iggy for allowing LeBron to drop 35 on him.
Right, almost 40. He averaged almost 40 a game in that series. He did. He averaged almost 40 a game in that series.
Yeah, he's the finals. No, he's not. We gave it to Cedric Maxwell. Come on, bro. Right, like, no. So I think he's going to fall into that, because they're not. And I'm not saying the journalists, the media, don't watch the games, but they watch for different things. And so, someone and I'm going to steal this from someone in the chat, because they said it and it was correct. Anyone who actually watches basketball and like really focuses in is be like, yo, Tatum's having actually a good series.
Yeah.
Aside from his scoring, aside not from his efficiency, his score, he's having a good series. He's doing the things that they need him to do, which is what you want your leader to do typically. But what we want the best player to do is, well, we want him to score the most points. We want him to do it. We want him to close it down in the fourth quarter when a game is close. We want him making shots when it's a blowout. Like,
separate yourself.
We want to see that separate. I don't want to see him setting a screen and blocking a shot and getting a rebound. No.
Even though to your point,
I want him as a coach doing it, but I'm like, no, I want to see him. I want to see Holiday make that strip. I want to see Porzingis grab that rebound and throw it up to Tatum, and Tatum make a nice move and score. That's what I want to see.
Even though that is winning basketball, but that's what Scottie Pippen was for, right? That's what Kevin McHale was for. That's what those other guys were for.
Yeah.
When we get into games where, okay, no more of this X and O nonsense, no more of this other. Okay, that's a great pass. Don't get me wrong. To Jordan's point or to James's point, we're not going to win. Jay, we're not going to win unless you get off the peel. Paxson is open. You got to look for him. He is open. Okay, great. But in the process of him doing that, he still is hanging 31 on you. He's still hanging 32 on you. And he's still getting to the rim. And he's still finishing at the rim. And the same logic goes for the best player on the crew, which is you, Jayson. Which is you. You are the best player on the crew. And I can appreciate you playing winning basketball. Because to be honest with you, that's ultimately what's going to win. Another coaching adjustment that Mazzulla made, where he puts Drew Holiday in the dunker spot. He's got Drew Holiday roaming the baseline, and then he puts him in the dunker spot. And Luka is a freeway cone where Jayson can get around him at any point. And when he's going downhill, I can drop the ball off to Drew Holiday on the baseline. I can kick the ball out to Derek White because he's wide open. That's great. Okay, that's great. But at some point, you have to assert your dominance. You blowing 2 and 3 layups at the rim. You're missing, you're fumbling the basketball, and you're missing 6-footers and things like that. That's not going to work for us. And not only is that not going to work for us, that's not going to work for you because you're much better than that, and we know that. So if you're asking me, Tone, who is the Finals MVP? If I had to tell you today, the Finals MVP is the guy who plays the best in the closeout game with the Celtics. That's what's going to end up happening.
Okay, so make a prediction. Who do you think is going to be? Now we're assuming the Celtics win,
right?
That's still not a foregone conclusion, but
right,
that's fine.
I'm assuming that the Celtics win, and I would not be surprised. And he's going to get a lot of backlash for this. I would not be surprised if I saw a 35 or 40-point game from Jayson Tatum. That would not surprise me if I saw one of those games, and that could be the game that could push him over the top. That one game, as opposed to all of these other ones, because we've had a different guy every night. We've had Porzingis get busy. Then we had Drew Holiday get busy. Who's going to get busy in game 3? Who's going to get busy? I don't think that to be honest with you, I don't think that they sweep them. But I do say, I will tell you this, Tone, we can't come back to Boston down 3-1 because we're not going back to Dallas. I can tell you that right now.
No,
we cannot go back to Boston down 3-1. So with that being said, if I look at this crew and whomever plays the best in that in the closeout game, I think that's the guy who wins it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Jayson Tatum. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Drew Holiday. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Derek White. And the reason why is because there hasn't been any separation from any of these guys. I think Jayson Tatum is playing great in these finals outside of scoring the basketball and being efficient. I think he's playing fantastic. No doubt about it. But when you get into a championship series, which, by the way, Tone, we're going to talk about Jayson Tatum in a little bit. When you get into the championship series, more times than not, they get the Finals MVP correct. Like when they gave it to more times than not. Like when they gave it to Magic, no, that should have went to Jabal. When they gave it to Curry, when they gave it to Iguodala, that's Curry's Finals MVP, right? Yeah. So when you're talking about the Finals MVP, more times than not, when they give it away, they give it to the person who should have gotten it. In this particular situation, there hasn't been any separation. And because there hasn't been, I think the one guy who's going to end up playing the best in the closeout game, that's the guy who's going to end up winning the Finals MVP.
So I'm going to make a prediction, and it's going to make for great. It's going to make for great stories for the whole summer, because I'm going to make a prediction that Jaylen Brown gets the Finals MVP after Game 5, because I think it's over. But that being said, I think it's good.
Before you go any further, I want to hold you right there because you just said Jaylen Brown. If Jaylen Brown wins the Finals MVP, the logic on him is going to be different.
Yeah.
But you being a Laker fan, and I keep bringing this up, and Tone, I don't want you to lose your train of thought. Stay right where you at. We didn't have any different conversation in '87 when James Worthy led the Lakers in scoring in the playoffs.
Never.
We didn't say anything different about Magic when James Worthy won the Finals MVP in '88.
But that was because Magic's role, we knew Magic wasn't the scorer. He'd put up 20, but we knew he was there to get you 10, 12, 14 assists in the game. That was his role, was he was making Worthy's life easy. That's why he scored so many points. Right. And in this case, we're looking for Tatum to be a scorer, but I want to relate two guys real quick, because there was another guy who was in the finals. Now he lost, and they all said he played horribly. And he was the third leading scorer on his team, and he averaged just over 17 points a game. Tatum's averaging 17 points a game. 2011, LeBron James was 17.8. I want to say 8.5 boards, right? 6.5 maybe assists, 7 assists, something along those lines. But he shot He shot 46, 47% from the field, 32, 31% from three.
Right.
Jayson Tatum is the third leading scorer on his team.
Garbage.
Third leading scorer with 17 points, shooting 31.6% from the field, 28.6% from three. And let's be clear, 75% is not good at the free throw line, just because people want to argue with me all the time. They're like, that's 3 out of 4. I'm like, that's below NBA average. Therefore, it's not good. So that being said, they are going to look, not us. They are going to look at that and say, well, I can't give it to him. I can't give it to him. He's dropped drastically. This is a guy who averaged 25, 27, who knows what the something per game in for the season and shot significantly better, et cetera, et cetera. I can't give it to a guy that had this huge drop off an 8. How much did he average for the season? Do you happen to know?
20, it was 27 and 8.
10-point drop off.
We roast. If last time I checked, on you and me had this conversation about Julius Randle. We roasted him for that.
Roasted him. Mars went ballistic. Lost his mind. That the only way the Knicks win is if they bench Julius Randle for the playoffs.
We roasted him for that. You can't drop 10 points in the regular season and then get to the NBA Finals and you drop 10 points, and we can say that you're still the most valuable player of this series.
And that's why I go against what you're saying. Whoever has the best closeout game, because they're going to look at these two games and say, well, he did nothing,
right?
And they didn't need him to win. Like these two games. They didn't feel close, although the game 2 was closer score-wise.
Right.
I didn't feel at any point in the game like, oh, Dallas might win this. Right. I don't know if you felt that way. I never felt.
I didn't.
Okay. I never felt Dallas is going to do this. And so when I look at a guy, again, I'm talking about the media, and then I'll say how I feel. When I look at as a media guy, I'll look and say 17, 32 and 29, 75%. Man, that's not the MVP. They really needed, right? In comparison,
right?
Jaylen Brown's 22, 5 and 5 on 56 and 28. He's not, or maybe even Drew Holiday's 19, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. He's shooting 65% from the field, 44% from three. They will look at the numbers and go,
if he keeps doing that, if Drew Holiday keeps doing that, and they keep winning, same thing with Jaylen Brown. Now it's gonna be even something where it's now again. So when I say whoever has the best closeout game, it's got to be something astronomical, like what Jayson Tatum did in Game 7 last year against Philly. Like if I get tomorrow, I get
52 in game,
I ain't even let's not even, because tomorrow's not the closeout game. But if I get 20, let's say I get 25, 11, and 6 tomorrow from him, and they win, and then they lose Game 4, and then they come home and he goes for 52 and 12. I 100% believe that the media and the voters are going to go, that's your finals MVP right there.
But hold on. But wait, what about the flip side? What if they go to Dallas, he drops 35 and they lose? And then in Game 4, he drops 20 or 18 and someone else steps up and they win.
Well, we've already seen
he's done. So that's my point. Now for us, now let's talk about us, because that's what I think the media is going to look at. For us, we're going to look and go, hold on, this guy's going 17, 10, and 9. 17, 10, and 9 with half a steal, half a block, and like I said, he's the number one. I believe he's leading his team in rebounding. He's leading his team in assists. Like he's doing what we said earlier. He's playing winning basketball. He doesn't care. He doesn't look like a guy who cares about the stats right now. He looks like a guy who, the knock on me is I haven't won a chip. So I'm going to do whatever this team needs to win a chip. And we applaud some guys for doing what they need to win a chip. We knock other guys for doing it. We applaud guys who get their stats and then knock other guys for not getting their stats. He is falling into a really unfortunate situation where he's a guy that we want him to get his stats and we want him to win our way. And if he doesn't, we say he's not that guy.
But
and
think about,
I think it's really unfortunate the way we're treated.
Think about what you just said, though, Tone. It's he's in an unfortunate situation. He put himself there because of the way he played in 22. So we expect you to, in 24, for us not to see the same guy. I still see flashes of the same guy. I still see the guy that's shying away from the basketball, right? I still see a guy who's hiding in the corner. So I do understand that the Finals MVP is the guy who basically played the best in this series. All right, I get that. But there still has to be some separation when it comes to the better players. And I don't think he's done that, Tone. I don't think he's done that.
No, like I said, I think right now, he's got, I think 3 more games to make his case, because right now he's 3rd on his own team in terms of MVP voting today.
Right.
Again, not in my opinion, but in the people who will vote, in my opinion, their opinion, excuse me.
Yep.
He's 3rd. All right, we're gonna leave Boston because it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because Boston's going to win this final, which means they'll have 18. However, my Lakers only have 17. And some people would say 16 and a half or 16. Although, if you take the in-season tournament and the bubble ring and put them together, maybe that's
Nope.
I call it it's a full ring. Listen, it's a full ring for the Lakers. It's half or a quarter of a ring for LeBron. That being said,
the bubble is 100% a ring. So let's kill it.
100%. Right, I agree. For the Lakers, 100% a ring. Yes, absolutely.
100%.
So let's move from one Boston to the West Coast. Your guy. I was hoping you were going to surprise me and have him join us today. We can still work on that. How do you know Dan Hurley?
So Dan and I,
or you can just, if you don't want to.
Dan and I grew up together. Coach Hurley and I grew up together. I've known him since the 7th grade. We went to high school together. We graduated the same year. So Dan and I have a bit of an unusual bond. We were born in the same hospital. I'm actually 1 day older than him. Our mothers are named.
You guys would have been in the hospital at the same time.
We were born in the same hospital. Yeah. I'm 1 day older than him. Both of our mothers are named Christine. So we went to high school together. So we're both from the same town. We have a bit of a bond in that area.
I didn't know any of that. Had he taken the Lakers job, I would have expected you to drop my name in the hat and say, "Hey, this is a great assistant for you." But he told my Lakers, "Hell no,
not no,
hell no."
I'm good.
Out. And he, if I can get it to do it again, he rained on my parade. I really like that. 6 years, people look at 6 years, $70 million. Oh, cool. It's not a lot of money.
It's a little bit of money, Tone. For what I'm gonna have to put up with, that's number one. For what I'm leaving, number two, and for how long I'm gonna be here, that's a little bit of money. Understand that Hurley, that's the basketball for that name, right? I want to take him off the table, and I want to talk about them collectively as a unit. And collectively as a unit, the Hurleys, basketball is the family business. That's what we do. Just like cops, right? Just like lawyers, just like carpenters. This is the family business. So if somebody throws a bunch of money at you when you've been doing something for so long, like it's not like we just got started doing this.
Right.
This has been the family business for decades, over almost 50 years, right? This has been the family business for that long. And with that being said, the bells and the whistles and the shiny toys, okay, that looks great, but how does this make sense? Well, one, I'm going to be coaching the Lakers. Okay, that sounds great. They got LeBron James. What's the flip side to this? The flip side to this is in the last 10 years, I'm going to be the 9th coach that they've had in 10 years. That doesn't sound like stability to me. That does not sound like you guys are very stable over here. You had 3 coaches in one season in the last 10 years. 3 of them. In the last 20 years, you've had 6 coaches in one season. Because don't forget the whole Coach Rudy Tomjanovich, who else was Mike? It wasn't Mike Krzyzewski. Rudy T. They had 3 different coaches. So you twice you've had 6 coaches
in a 2 years in a 2 year span.
That happened in the 04-05 season and in the 13-14 season where you had.
Well, that's Magic only played like 50. They only coached 7 games.
I ain't even talking about Magic. That's in the 90s. I'm talking about. I'm talking about recently. Where you had Mike D'Antoni, where you had Mike Brown and
Luke Walton
and Bickerstaff, and you had Bickerstaff in one season. So I'm gonna be the 9th coach in 10 years. Okay, that $70 million. Okay, Tone, in Los Angeles, that's really 30. 35. I want to start there.
It is expensive.
It's really 35. That's after that. That's I only paid Uncle Sam, by the way. I haven't paid my agent. I haven't had a place to live. Number 2, I got to deal with James. I got to deal with Anthony Davis. I got to deal with all of these guys.
I wouldn't even break down the taxes. I would just say, and you've said this, and I've argued with you that not all money's good money.
It's not.
And you said, I get to coach James, but do you get to coach James?
Right.
Do you?
Cost? Right.
No, but do you? Will he be coached?
No,
I'm going to show you a clip in a second, and I'm asking the question. But can you coach him? Are they going to? Is he forcing? I don't know. Is he forcing them to draft his son? I don't know. I know that there's a lot of talk that they're bumping up his draft stock so that they can justify drafting him.
Right. That's why they're trying to get rid of that number 17 pick, because they don't want that. They don't want that.
They don't want that pressure. What's the roster going to look like? Because it clearly we thought it was good enough, but it was not good enough.
Was it though, Tone? I want to stop you right there, because
they lost the first round, so it wasn't good enough.
But here's the thing: we talk a lot about we talk a lot about matchups, because that's what the playoffs are. And if you guys avoid Denver, are we talking about you guys different?
Hold on. You said out of your mouth.
Times. I already know where you're going, and I wholeheartedly believe this, Tone.
The Denver's the champs until someone knocks them off. You got to go through Denver to get through the finals. So that's what you better be ready to do. They were not ready to do that.
And on top of that, my other logic.
Say, let me be lucky. Look at Boston. Boston got very lucky. Injured Miami, injured Indiana, injured Cleveland. They've had the easiest road to the NBA final, and then they get a 5 seed. No one's going to look at this run and be like, wow, Boston really did a great job. No, hey, they're going to give them their flowers for winning a chip. At the end of the day, they won a chip. You got to play who's in front of you. But no one's going to give them any flowers for that. So to your point, yes, had they played OKC or blah, 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 someone else first, yeah, sure, maybe. Had they, got Buffalo in the first round, sure, they probably beat Buffalo, even though Buffalo had their number all season. But they didn't. They got Denver, and they got to go through the champs. And whether it was in the first round, the second round, the third round, they would have had to meet Denver at some point, I think. So they weren't that good. So do I want to go into that situation with a 40-year-old? It's not 25-year-old LeBron. It's not
years old on opening night.
Right? It's not like Phil Jackson going in and being like, all right, I got a year 3, 4, 5. Mike, I got a year 2 Pip. I got a year 2 Grant. No, I got a 40-year-old Bron. I got a sometimes great, sometimes not so great AD, and then I don't really know what I got after that. So that's it. I said this before. I said when Hurley's name came up, I said they'd have to trade everybody. They'd have to just start over if they're going to give him this team, because I'm just going to play the clip. Is this a guy he wants to deal with? Now, maybe he gives more respect to Dan Hurley, but I haven't seen it.
Right. That's just so disrespectful. I'm telling when I first saw that, the first thing I was thinking was how you do AI stuff. And I was thinking that has to be AI generated. It has to be. There's no way that he really did that on the bench. There's no way he did that.
Not the first time he's done it. You've seen him do. Yeah, I saw him do it to Ty Lue in Cleveland. Because they won to win the championship that season, so no one's going to say anything. But
how can I really, right? How can I really coach a team when I got this going on? And if I got this going on, there's no way I'm going to be able to talk to the rest of the guys when he's going, give me the board, I got it. I'm going to tell us what to do. No, you're not. No, you are not.
Do you remember what I said last week when the report, right before we went on air, the report was they're this close to signing JJ Redick, and I said, then I'll give back my Laker card until
You was ready to do it too, Tone. You were
And,
absolutely
and
ready.
I sent an email to Jeannie, and I sent a text to Rob Pelinka, and I said, I'm out. And then Hurley's name came up, and I'm like, oh, they listened. And they didn't listen, but it made me feel real good to say they listened.
I just know that.
And just let me just quick, I want to deal with this. Let me say this really quick. It doesn't matter if it worked. And here's why it doesn't matter if it worked. So again, let me put it into kids' perspective. My son was playing baseball. You know, he plays baseball now. I was playing baseball yesterday. 3-0. Third base coach sees what's been going on. He goes, red light. Red light, gives him the sign. Red light means don't swing. Just what you're meant to do is time that pitch. You know he's going to throw a strike. Watch the pitch, time it. Wait for that 3-1 pitch. Or he walks you, but if not, wait for that 3-2 pitch. You're ready for it because he's going to have to throw another strike, right? And if it's close, there's your opportunity. Fluent Jr. said 3-0, green light, baby. And he grounds out. Next at bat, gets up, listens to the coach this time, gets a nice pitch, boom, beautiful. 2 RBI double into the outfield. Great hit, by the way. I'm not just saying it because it was him. Great hit. Mm-hmm. And so afterwards, we have a conversation. And he says, I felt like that was a good pitch. And I said, I know you did. That's why you swung. But when your coach tells you don't, there's a reason behind it. And you have to be coachable because there's situations where coaches need to know, hey, if I'm telling you, there needs to be that synergy, that understanding. Now, can LeBron James say, hey, let's try this play? Hey, we run 42 blitz, 37-8 black cobra. Let's do that. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, let's do that. Right? That's different. But to say, get out of here, give me the board, I'm going to drop a play. This ain't the schoolyard. So even if it worked, it's not the right thing. And I wasn't sure if he was understanding because he's 10. He just turned 10. Right. And I said, here, let me give you another example. I come home one day and I say, hey, Miss Fluent, here's $5 million. I said, that's good, right? And he goes, yeah, that's fantastic. I said, what if I robbed a bank and I said, here's $5 million? Is it still good? No. He goes, no, that's not good. And I said, well, that's what it's like. The ends does not justify the means. He didn't understand that part either. But I said, like, the outcome, it doesn't, because what he said was, well, what if on that 3-0 pitch I hit a home run?
Still doesn't matter.
I said, that's great. I said, but do you shoot just because you go, every time you dribble up the ball, you shoot a half court 3 and one goes in. Is it a good shot? Well, no, it's not a good shot.
We live in a
whether the play worked. My point of all way long was just whether the play worked or not doesn't matter unless he's the coach. And that's what I said to you last week. Then just make him the coach, or that's why they want JJ, is because that kind of stuff.
Just a figurehead.
JJ would say to him, here. JJ would give him the board and say, here, give us something.
Just a figurehead. And that's hard to play with. That is hard to play with because on any and every level, I'm walking on eggshells. I'm always worried about, is this going to be the day? And I can tell you right now from experience, what I know about Dan Hurley, he is not tolerating none of that shit from LeBron James.
No great coach is.
He is not tolerating any of that. Danny wouldn't last.
Not for long, yeah.
Coach Hurley would not last 2 seasons. I think he'd be fired in year 2. I don't know. I'm not sure that he'd even make it through year. I'm not even sure if he'd make it through year 1. Because he would probably try to assert his dominance, and then it would be some nonsense. And I know Danny, he'd flip out on him. I know Danny, he would straight give him the business. Now,
can I pause you there for a second? And I want to sidetrack the conversation a little, but still about Dan. Can he coach at the NBA level with that type of what sounds like to be a very kind of
fiery,
right? Because it has really become, like a players' league where coaches like that, it's frowned upon. Whereas in college, you expect to, the yelling and the screaming and the hey, my way or the bench.
Yep. Here's the difference, though, Tone. The difference is that he's also the guy who's going to put the battery in your back too. He's that guy. He's very much the player coach. He's very much that guy. What he doesn't tolerate is that stuff with that. There is a hierarchy. And with the hierarchy, I'm going to let you do your thing, but there's a pecking order and there has to be respect somewhere. And as a head coach, I can't lose my team. And if I lose my team, I'm going to lose everything. And the way that I keep my team is at some level of authority. There's a reason why Tibbs is the coach that he is, because Coach Tibbs still has that authority, and he asserts that authority off the strength of how good he still is. And they respect that. And they respect him because he shows up every day. He does his job. He's not just a figurehead. And he will tell Josh Hart. He will tell Mitchell Robinson, this rebounding effort is bullshit. You need to get your ass on the glass. We're getting killed right now. He'll say that. And he'll say it in a way that doesn't make you feel like you're a 12-year-old. No. And that's the same thing with Coach Hurley. Bron, on the other hand, because he's so used to being the man, he could make coaches feel like, I am insignificant. Like, what am I doing here? And I know that Coach Hurley won't allow that. He won't stand for any of that. We live in such a self-absorbed society that everybody thinks that their opinion matters with everything. On a basketball team, there is a pecking order. We got the coach, we got the best player, and the rest of the guys fall in line. And when the best player has no respect for the coach, when the best player has no respect for the coach, you lose the rest of the crew. You end up losing the rest of the crew. And I can't see Coach Hurley going to Los Angeles for $30 million. I don't think, to be honest with you, Tone, I don't think he ever wanted that job. I think he used that job as leverage to get a raise at UConn.
I don't think they ever wanted him. I'll tell you right now, I don't think they ever wanted him. I think, people will be like, oh, it was a top 5 paid coach in the league, right? 6 years, $70 million. No, I think if they really wanted him, they would have made him the highest paid coach. Like to get a successful college coach, go back and look. A lot of them didn't work out, but go back and look at the Rick Pitino's, the Caliparis, like the deals that they got, right? They were record-breaking deals, they were record-breaking deals because you're taking a coach out of a great situation. Full control. I get to recruit and bring in whoever I want. I don't have to worry about free agency, although now a little bit with the transfer portal, but not the same. I don't have to worry about drafting, portals, trades for the most part. Free agency, that type of thing. I go recruit my players. I bring them in. They do what I say. If they don't, they're too bad. They're out, and I'll get somebody else. I'm making just as much amount of money. I'm a hero. In again, depending where they are, he's at UConn. There's no pro sports team. He's the man. He can walk down the street, and I bet you he eats for free everywhere if he wants to.
It just happens, Hone. It's a place in it's either in Stores or Hartford where free wings for life.
There you go. There you go.
Free wings for life.
So he is a celebrity who writes his own ticket, and I don't know what. Do you know what the deal is that he just signed with UConn?
6 years, $50 million.
Okay, 6 years, $50 million, and UConn probably has a better tax situation than California, and it's probably cheaper to live in that area than it is in California, which we know that it is. So he's in a better situation. So to get him to leave, the Lakers really wanted him. He would have had to been the highest paid coach in the NBA with significant perks. They didn't do it because they didn't actually want him. What it was we tried, but he said no. Oh, and there might be another coach you're going to hear, another coach's name come up. We tried, but it didn't work. You know what? But we really like JJ. We really like his analysis. We really like the way that he looks at the game. And they're setting you up for, okay, hey, they really did try to get this veteran guy and no one else wanted it.
So we're going to settle with this guy, Tone? We're going to settle with JJ?
Not settle. They're going to sell him. They're still going to sell him on it. They're going to say, hey, he's got a lot of the same stuff that Coach Hurley does from a X's and O's standpoint and this and that. Plus, unlike Coach Hurley or whoever the second guys, he played in the NBA. He has a great relationship with LeBron and he understands the media and how to deal with them. Because, hey, listen, coaching in UConn with those, with Bob Jenkins, who's writing for the UConn Gazette, he's not the same person you're dealing with when you're dealing with the LA media. Now it's not the New York media, but it's right. The LA media. JJ's part of he already knows how to deal with those guys. They're going to sell you on him, but they're not, because if he was the first choice, the only choice, and that's who they brought in, they would have got. They're still going to get roasted, but now to a lesser extent, because some people will say, well, they tried to get Dan Hurley.
So if that's the case, Tone, then it sounds to me like JJ's their guy all along, but we're going to put up these smoke and mirrors to show you that.
I hate to say this because it's going to be culturally, a little risque what I'm about to say, but it's very much like the Rooney Rule in football. There are some teams that just say, well, we have to do this, so we're going to interview this guy. It's dumb as it is. That's what they did with Dan Hurley is, well, we need to show that we're talking to other people.
Right.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You already knew you were going to hire this person. Why you brought in that person? Stop it. Stop.
That's a pretty compelling. That's really interesting, Tone, because I mean, I thought about it from, I don't think Dan is, Coach Hurley is
maybe he didn't want it, and maybe it was a perfect match. He didn't want it, they didn't want him.
To be honest with you, Tone,
right.
I don't think he wanted that job. I think he went out there,
leverages it to get a better deal from UConn. The Lakers leveraged. It was a perfect marriage. He leveraged it for what he really wanted. They leveraged him for what they really wanted.
So
it worked out for both.
It worked out for both.
The only people who suffer are the Laker fans.
Yes, that's really what it is. Because if you look at the situation and you look at the way it transpired, Coach Hurley is a Northeast guy. He's not an East Coast guy. He's a Northeast guy. He first of all, he's from Jersey City, went to high school in Jersey City, went to college in New Jersey.
He should be coaching the Nets.
To be honest with you, Tone, his first coaching job was at Rutgers. He goes from Rutgers to be to having a head coach job at St. Benedict's. He had J.R. Smith there at St. Benedict's High School. It's a prep school. He goes from there to getting a head coach job at Wagner, which is in Staten Island. He takes that job, turns them around. They become a good team. He goes from Wagner to the University of Rhode Island. Takes them to the tournament. He goes from the University of Rhode Island to now UConn. Coach Hurley is not a West Coast guy. He's not a down South guy. And I don't know how many people know this, but when he was coaching, I believe he was coaching at Rhode Island at one point, and Marquette came in, and that just didn't make sense. And they had a pretty compelling case, but it just didn't make sense. So with that being said, he's not married to the Northeast. He's just a Northeast guy. That's it. And with him seeing the Tone, why not? I mean, why not tell Mrs. Hurley, yo, let's get on a plane, let's go out there, let's go get some dinner, let's let them put us up in a hotel, and let's let them wine and dine us.
Me and Mrs. Fluent taking the little junior Fluents to California just here in a couple of weeks.
Right,
it's a nice place to go for a week or so. And
right,
absolutely.
I have no intentions of taking this job, and it gives me leverage with UConn because one, we just won the national championship in back-to-back seasons. When I get that job, UConn is at the bottom of the Big East. We're back-to-back national champions. The Lakers came after me. I didn't come after them. I wasn't actively searching for an NBA job, even though I do think that ultimately he's going to coach in the NBA.
I always say this. People reach out to me and say, hey, I got an opportunity. Never hurts to listen. Never hurts to have a conversation.
It does not. It does not hurt to listen, Tone.
And if you want to fly me somewhere beautiful, all the more better. My biggest concern. Sorry, was there a last point you wanted on this?
I'm thinking he had no intentions in taking that job and used that as leverage with UConn because again, I wasn't actively searching for an NBA job. Now, I do think that ultimately he's going to coach in the NBA, but I'm in no rush. I'm at the creme de la creme. This is a top 5 program in the country, arguably a top 5 program.
Basketball school, girls and boys. That's a basketball school. Absolutely,
arguably a top 5 program. Arguably a top 5 program all time. What this does now with the Lakers interviewing me and me turning down that job, that's gonna increase recruiting because now kids are gonna see that I'm committed here and I'm that
the NBA wants me. LeBron James wants me.
I was just about to say that, Tone. When that job that I really want opens up, now I'm gone. When that Knick job or that Celtic job or that
maybe he wants to retire as the head coach of LeBron James's Las Vegas Outlaws. I don't know. You never know.
Who knows? You
can't handle the truth.
With that being said, though, Tone, I don't think they played us because we kind of figured it out, but I think they played a lot of people.
100% they played. Absolutely. The Celtics, the Knicks, absolutely. The Knicks would be a great transition from Tibbs because Tibbs is. But anyways, let's move on because now the bigger question. So Hurley said no.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't have been talking shit.
He looked at Rob Pelinka.
Shut your damn mouth.
Didn't want to hear it. Now what? What's next for the Lakers?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Tone.
Is it JJ or bust?
Well, You and me have had conversations in the past, and you know how adamant I am about recycling bad coaches. I hate it. You know how I feel about that. You're Toronto Red. You up in Toronto. Toronto did a great thing. I was standing on a hill screaming how awesome I thought that was when they hired Nick Nurse. Because what we're doing is we're hiring Mike D'Antoni over and over again. We're hiring Alvin Gentry, and we're hiring Dwayne Casey, and these guys opening. That's not to say Dwayne Casey.
It's not to say they're bad coaches, but yes, it's right.
It's not to say that these guys are bad coaches. It's just that, let's get a new voice in here. Let's get these other coaches. They can coach. We don't know how good they are, and the last thing that we want is for them to go somewhere else and to find out that we had him here, only to find out that he's a damn good coach. So, if you are the Los Angeles Lakers, if you're Rob Pelinka, call up the Boston Celtics. Ask to talk to Sam Cassell. That's the first guy I'm thinking about talking to. And then I'm going to pick up the telephone and I'm going to call up the Warriors and I'm going to ask to talk to Kenny Atkinson. I think Kenny Atkinson got ran off with the Nets. I think he's a damn good coach. I think he got a raw deal. With the Nets. That was a playoff team that was decimated by injury, and they still ended up in the playoffs. I think he did a damn good job with them. He got a raw deal when they ended up ousting him and ended up giving the job to Steve Nash, who didn't even want the job in the first place. He got talked into it. But I think Kenny Atkinson is a damn good coach. I think Sam Cassell could be a damn good coach. Now, don't get me wrong, Tone. Moving over from one seat to the hot seat is completely different.
It's a big jump. It's a big jump.
It's a big deal. But with that being said, we're not going to find out until we actually do it. And a guy like Sam Cassell, who's got championship pedigree as a player, played for a championship, played on a championship. He's got 3 NBA championships. In the process of him having 3 NBA championships, his team is in the NBA championship right now, and they could very well win another championship. That would be 4. Sam Cassell does know how to manage players. With him knowing how to manage players, he can hire people. Because I use my football analogy when it comes to coaching all the time. I feel like you're only as good as your backup quarterback. You're only as good as your if your backup quarterback goes down, you're in trouble. Because if your backup quarterback isn't good and your quarterback goes down, you are in trouble. Coaches are only as good as their assistant coaches. Phil Jackson proved that with Tex Winners.
Yeah, 100%.
He 100% proved that with Tex Winners. So if as good as Coach Mazzulla is, who I think is a damn good coach, and as good as Phil Handy is, even I think Phil Handy's gone, by the way. He was with the Lakers. I think they got rid of him too. With that being said, Tone, this team recycling bad coaches, bringing in these other guys just to check their temperature, Atkinson, Sam Cassell, I think it's a good thing.
I want to throw another name in there for strictly selfish reasons. Scott Morrison, the assistant coach with the Utah Jazz, would be wonderful to have my friend there with my Lakers, because I'd be on his staff. No,
he's a damn good coach.
Let's go, Scott. He's a damn good coach.
Yes, he is.
No, but there are guys like that who, at some point, I think they're going to get a shot. But I feel like a lot of times we miss out on some of these guys, and by the time they do get their shot, and one name comes to mind. Do you remember, rest in peace, Brendan Malone?
Brendan Malone, sure. That's my Malone's father.
Longtime assistant with the Knicks, got a short stint with the Raptors, was playing their vets and was winning games. And Isaiah Thomas said, "No, you need to play our young guys because we're an expansion team, and we need to."
Is that what happened to him?
Yeah, we need to like see that. And he's like, "No, I get paid to win games. If I don't win games, I get fired." Right. And he said, "Well, guess what? If you don't do what I say, you get fired." And they fired him. But by that point, he was already been in the league a long time, was older. Like, he got another chance once again. But again, it was so much, sometimes you get that stage where it's like you don't have the same oomph, the same voice anymore, the same enthusiasm, the same all of those things. But I'm like, if Malone had gotten a chance 10 years earlier, I think he would have been a hell of a coach. And that's why I'm scared with some of these younger guys. That's why I was actually applaud Utah, right? Or these teams that hire these younger guys, because I think they relate to the players better. And look, you still got to be tough but respected, but also speak their language. My fear is, and I heard this, I like Sam Cassell's a lot. He was the first name that I thought of. Mm-hmm. I'm scared that they're going to figure out a way to to convince him to come in and be like a head assistant to JJ.
No,
And
man.
that's gonna kill, because it's going to be one, bad for JJ, because now there's a guy who's way more experienced and deserving than I am behind me. And now I'm expendable, because if I start to stink, don't worry, we got Sam Cassell can slide right in. It was the same thing if you remember when they had Jason Kidd being the assistant for Vogel. Everyone was like, well, yeah, Vogel's out and they're going to slide Jason Kidd in. Jason Kidd just doesn't stay around long enough. He took the Dallas job, but that not come up, it would have been Vogel.
He would have been the head coach of the Lakers, sure.
And so that keeps gnawing at me, as that's what they're going to do, and they're going to sell it to Sam Cassell as this is your team, you're going to get it, blah blah blah. JJ needs somebody, and I don't.
Oh, that would be a PR nightmare, to be honest with you, because people. The reason why I feel like that is because there's people who will see right through that. You see right through it. I don't think. I don't.
You know what? I don't know. Don't give people too much credit.
Because I can see right through that. I said the same thing when they hired Missoula. When they hired Missoula, I'm thinking next year, if they're 500 in the first, I don't know, month or two, Missoula's going to be out and Sam Cassell's going to get that job. Only except they ran off like 15 straight.
They played well.
They did another. They ran off another 10 straight. So we already know that JJ would be a figurehead. He wouldn't exactly be Phil Jackson. He wouldn't be Pat Riley. He wouldn't be somebody that's going to be sustainable.
Does anyone even like JJ?
No, to be honest with you, I don't know what those circles say about him, but he doesn't seem to be
like I don't know him personally, so I can only go by what other people who do say, and he's not very liked, not in media, not by players, not by coaches. Like, it doesn't seem like he's a well-liked guy. Now, do you have to be a well-liked guy to be a good coach, a great coach?
That was my next thing, Tony.
No, you don't. But man, it makes it a whole lot easier. Right? Like when you see who's the head coach at OKC?
Dagnall.
Who was it? Oh no, maybe it was Minnesota's coach. Who's the guy that got hit and like had to sit up?
Why am I drawing a blank on his name?
I know I'm drawing a blank too. That's why I asked.
Why am I drawing a blank on?
It was the Minnesota coach.
It was, yeah. It was Mike Conley ran into him.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah,
it was the Minnesota coach.
Listen to him talk. Listen to what every player, coach, everybody around the league loves him. They're like, he's a great guy.
Chris Finch.
Chris Finch. Thank you. There you go. Everybody loves him, and so just like if I'm building a franchise, if I had all things equal, I'm taking him. Okay, but if one guy's a great coach and the other guy sucks, okay, I'm taking the great coach, even if he's a jerk. So it doesn't necessarily mean you're a good coach, but you come in with no experience,
right?
No pedigree, no, not being liked. No one's rooting for you. No one's helping you. No one's giving you, those little things that you need,
right?
To be successful. It just makes it harder.
And don't get me wrong, Tone. It's cool to be popular, so to speak, with the fellas, but what's more important, me being liked or me being respected? And I think both of those aren't what JJ Redick is going to have, because one, as a player, you're not liked. As a coach,
you're not respected. You're not respected. Right. You have nothing.
Exactly. You have no pedigree. So what do you know? And on top of that, guys like James, guys like Anthony Davis, they've won. So they're going to be looking at you.
Just look at these guys, man. Like Steve Nash is a very recent great example. Player turned coach, no respect by his players, right? What didn't someone say? Hey, that's my MVP sitting up in there. Or I don't know what is.
Kyrie Irving said we don't need a head coach. He said that
we don't need a head coach. Doug Collins never even played. Never even assisted coaching, nothing. Like those guys, the guys that have no coaching experience, like not even as the ones that succeed are few and far between. Like you could probably count them on one hand. Yeah. So what's next for them, I think, is JJ. There's still holes in the roster that need to be filled.
Tone, I'm gonna be honest with you. I hate to say this, and this makes me nuts that you were right. Tone, we got to start over. Let's blow this thing up. We got to start over.
More fluent.
We got to blow this thing up.
Can you say that again? Because the people in the back didn't hear you. I was what?
Tone, you were right. We got to blow this thing up, man. We got to
Oh.
start because where
2
we
years
are,
ago, AD had that 10-game run. Trade him.
we got to start over, Tone. Because where we are right now is not close. We have to get Tone.
You're patching the dam with bubble
That's
gum.
all we doing.
Old.
That's all we're doing, Tone.
Yes.
We're putting a Band-Aid over bullet wounds. That's all we're doing. And it's bleeding. We have to stop the bleeding. How do we do that? We got to get a coach in here. Los Angeles, I'm not a big fan of the city of Los Angeles as a basketball city because I feel like a lot of those people, they come to the games just for show. There are people who are basketball people in Los Angeles. With that being said, if very much like the Knicks, very much like New York, Chicago, these are basketball people. And if you are honest with them and you tell them, this is our head coach, you get a franchise player. This is the guy we're building around. And then you build around that, they'll get behind you.
Yeah.
As opposed to, okay, like the Knicks were doing every year when they were losing 50 straight games. They were losing 50 games every year. And the next year they're telling people, yo, we're going to the playoffs next year. We're going to the playoffs. No, you're not. You're not. The Yankees, who I'm a Mets fan, if anybody knows that. If anybody knows me, they know I'm a Mets fan. The Yankees were the epitome of being honest. Yo, we're starting over. Judge is our guy. We're going to build this unit around him. We're going to go get pitching. We're going to go get some more sluggers. And the Yankee fans and the New York crowd was like, we're going to get behind you. As opposed to, we win in the World Series next year with this kid. Okay, no, we're not.
Yeah, but see, there's two things there that's the problem. One, Philadelphia tried that. Trust the process. And it failed miserably. LA has been spoiled because every time we'll go on a 3 to 5 year kind of dip, but then we always come back with something, right? And I'm talking from Mikan to Chamberlain and West. I guess I should give them both credit. Kareem, Magic, Shaq, Kobe, LeBron. Right? Yes, there was lulls. Don't get me wrong, and some of them were injuries, some of them were unforeseen, whatever things. But there's a couple of years. It's never been, hey, we're starting fresh. It's, hey, give us a couple years. We're going to tweak it, put some stuff together. Now, sometimes it lasted longer than we wanted it to.
Mm-hmm.
The middle of the 90s, the middle of the 2000s. Like there was points, or the 2010s, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
But it always came back with almost like a bigger and better star. If you think about it, right? Mikan, Chamberlain was better. Kareem, at that point in their careers, Kareem was better. Magic was better. Shaq and Kobe were better. LeBron's, in my opinion, the second best player ever.
Right.
So they always got someone that was
Right.
Who's that person? That person doesn't exist.
Maybe
right
we
now.
haven't met him yet, Tone.
And that's what I said. It
I'll
exists
tell
right
you
now.
what, maybe if the great Jerry West was still in the front office and did
Oh,
what
we
you
have
said,
him already. We have him
and
already.
did what you said, maybe Wemby would be in a Los Angeles Lakers uniform.
You're probably right. And here's what scares me. Next year, you're going to try and sell me that a 40-year-old LeBron, a day-to-day Davis, a kid that shouldn't be in the NBA, but because of the name on the back of his jersey, he is, and JJ Redick is coach. You're selling me I'm not, listen, I might have been born on a Monday, but it wasn't yesterday.
No, it wasn't. I was born at night. I wasn't born last.
I was born on a Saturday, mind you, but it doesn't make sense other than if I say Monday, because today's Tuesday.
Born at night,
And that's the bill of goods. I fear that's the bill of goods that they're going to try and sell me this offseason.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
You're right, Cardi. It is suspicious and it is weird. And that's where this is all going to fall apart, because at the end of the day, I've said a 40-year-old LeBron, how long is he still in LA? How long is he still in the NBA for?
Which is really interesting, Tone, because I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another silky segue. Tone is Peyton Manning in the backfield. That's what he is. He's just, because that's an interesting question, Tone, because James is 39. He'll be 40 years old in December. So he's 39 on opening night. We're basically a month and a half into the season. He turns 40 years old. I'm not one of these ridiculous people.
Let me pause you there and just say, as someone, and you as well as I have been through this, I don't know what it is, but every decade that turns, whether it was 20, 30, 40, every time there's a zero behind a number,
Doesn't get simple.
your body, your mind, your mentality. I'm telling you, people, because some of you are like 21, you're like, I don't see it. Wait.
Oh, you don't see it right now. Of course,
There is a shift.
You don't see it right now.
And even though I tell you, 39 and 364 days, I felt one way. 40 and 4 hours, I felt completely different. And we've been through more of those. As you know, I had a birthday a couple weeks ago. That being said, so I just continue because it's gonna happen. You're gonna see it.
And I'm not ridiculous enough to think, unlike some of my friends who think that he's gonna play another 5 years, and I'm like, no, he is not.
Yeah.
He's not playing. He can do this for another 4 or 5 years. No, he can't. No, he cannot. Not only can he not do it.
Great. My starting lineup's going to be Bronny at the 1, Bryce at the 3, and LeBron at the 5.
You're going to get his daughter too. How about that? We're going to get his daughter because by that time she'll be graduating. She'll be close to high school. So let's get her in the lineup too. So with that being said, what am I building my future around? I can tell you what I'm not building my future around. I'm not building my future around right now. I'm not. I can't. That's not legit, Tone. And a guy who, James being almost 40 years old, who I think, I'll give him 2 more years, Tone. That's as far as I'm going. I don't think he lasts past 2 more years. Then what do we have after that? Okay, so now we're starting this rebuild 2 years from now. And what are we rebuilding with? Are we rebuilding with Anthony Davis? Is Anthony Davis still going to be here once the LeBron era ends? Because by the way, Tone, in 2 more years, he'll be there 9 years. That's how long he'll be there, right? Two more seasons, because he just, I think we're going into year 7 this season. So if I got 2 more years, I'm sorry, it'll be 8 seasons that I got out of him. 8. So if I get 8 seasons out of this guy, 8 seasons, now we've moved on. He's 42 years old. Who am I moving on with? And am I comfortable starting over? Because in the words of the great Bill Walsh, I'd rather trade you a year too early than 2 years too late.
Isn't that? I thought that was Bill Belichick.
He got that from Bill Walsh.
For real?
Yes, that's we started that.
He got from a 49er fan to steal something away from Boston.
He got that from Bill Walsh. So the idea that I'm holding on to these guys, and Tone, I can't say it enough. You were right. If we are serious about winning, what we can't do is keep patching up holes, because eventually, Tone, this shirt's gonna fall apart. I can't keep sewing it. I can't keep putting patches on the shirt. Eventually, the shirt's going to fall apart. I got to get a new shirt, and I got to take care of it.
It's going to look like that Gordon Gortrell.
That's exactly what it's going to look like. That Theo Huxtable had on. Yes, it is. It's going to look. You got to.
If you don't know, let's be clear. For those that don't know, go look up Gordon Gortrell, Cosby Show, the one that Denise made, not the original one.
Sleeve over here,
over here,
over here. No, we're not doing that. Hell no. And
my favorite episode.
The Lakers have always been a team since I've been watching basketball that has a foundation. They built something. But we live in a time where everything is right now, which goes back to your point, which I do combat. Like you talked about Philly, they trusted the process has failed. Those Philadelphia fans will get behind them if they get it right. We got to, first of all, you built your process behind a guy with bad feet. That's what you started your process with.
Listen. But it would have worked. It would have worked. Again, I get it. Hindsight is 50. Hindsight is 2020 or whatever the hell that saying is. But it would have worked, except there's only 2 teams. Give me some balloons. There's only 2 teams in the NBA that made the same mistake. The Lakers and the Sixers were the 2 teams that picked 1-2 before Boston on both Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. How would the Philadelphia 76ers looked with Embiid, Brown, and Tatum? You got to get those right. Look, I get it. It's tough. It's tough to get every single draft right.
Right. You
got to get those ones right. And I get it. Everyone's going to say, well, everyone was projecting this person was the number 1 pick. Cool.
Danny Ainge sold us a bill of goods.
Danny Ainge might be the smartest GM.
Yeah. Danny Ainge sold us. Danny Ainge sold
Jerry West. Maybe next to Jerry West.
And to Mr. Todd in the chat. Okay, just so you know, the last team to go up 2-0, that wasn't the Mavs. It was actually it was Phoenix. Phoenix went up 2-0, and they lost to to Milwaukee in 21. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Now, Tone, we have to get a foundation. The Lakers have always had that. We built the unit in 76.
They don't now.
That's the point.
Anthony Davis can be that foundation. Whatever you get. No, trade him. No, trade him for that foundation.
So the franchise player that you're looking for
comes in a trade from Anthony Davis.
Whether it's in the draft or whether it's a young guy, who is that? I don't think that we've met him yet, Tone. To be honest with you, I don't. I think
I'm having way too much fun with this.
I think that yes, you are. Yeah.
You're gonna trade Anthony Davis? Hold on. I love that idea.
I think that I just think that the Lakers are holding on. I feel like they're holding on to something that has been, that not is anymore.
Right.
And you've said it 1,000 times. The late great Kobe Bryant has said it. If you look up in the rafters, there are no Western Conference Championship banners. There are no division banners. None of that's going on.
There is an in-season tournament banner.
There is an in-season tournament banner. But for the most part, there are no division banners.
If I was an arsonist, I would burn that down. But sorry, go ahead.
You hate that.
I hate that. I hate it. If I had a laser beam,
you get rid of it right now.
I'd go do it. There we go. I'd zap it right out of there. It never should have taught me how to do this stuff.
So they don't have any division banners up there. They don't have any Western Conference Championship banners up there. The only banners that are up there are World Championship banners. That's it. So if you are competing for World Championships, you have to GM like that. You have to build your unit like that. That's what you guys did in 76 when you got Jabbar, then you got Jamal Wilkes, then you moved on and you got drafted Michael Cooper in the same draft that you drafted Magic, and then you got James Worthy and you built for the future. Then you moved on from those guys in Magic. Then you moved on from those guys. In the process of moving on from those guys, you ended up getting a free agent and you ended up getting a free agent in Shaq, and then you drafted Bryant and you built the unit around him. Shaq moves on. You still keep Bryant and you build the unit around him. Since then, there hasn't been any stability on this unit except for James. And you got James at 34 years old. It wasn't like you got James at 25 like the Miami Heat got him, where you could have kept him for 7-8 seasons and got the best years out of him. No, you got him at 34 years old. So you got him on the other side of who he used to be. Still pretty damn good. Still damn good. But you got him on the other side of who he used to be. So now we got to get back to what the Lakers were. And how you do that is you get a foundation. If you get yourself a franchise player, move on from all of this other nonsense that you're doing. The Laker faithful will get behind you if you do that.
Yeah, 100%. But that would mean you're getting rid of LeBron too.
He's going at some point, Tone. He's not going to play forever.
That's the problem. So we got to wait till he leaves because you can't send him home.
Just so you know, he's not under contract.
You think he's signing somewhere else?
I don't.
Or they're not going to offer if they don't offer him a contract. You don't think he's going to come out? It's LeBron after all, and say they didn't offer me a contract.
Is he going to leave $52 million on the table?
Is it a player option?
Yes, $52 million.
And he's a damn fool. He's a damn fool.
He's going to leave.
He'd be a damn fool if he did.
$52 million on the table.
No,
and I think that he's waiting to see what they're going to do with that draft pick. I think that he's waiting to see what they're going to do with that draft pick and what's going to happen with his kid.
Who are they getting at 17? Me? This draft is why you think I'm in this year's draft. It is weak. I have a shot.
I don't think it's as weak as you think it is, Tone. This is when GMs GM. This is when we find out who the better GMs are.
There's going to be a hidden. I'm sure there's going to be a hidden gem in there, but you're going to have to get. It's going to be as much as you are lucky as good to do that. I'm going to open. Listen, we're going to open. I want to open it up to the people a little early because we always run out of time. I do want to point out the Miami Heat zone. You were at a very special graduation when they reached out and said, "Hey, do you want to jump on the show today?" So I went on and we talked some Miami Heat basketball and how they should blow the damn thing up too. They still want you at some point, but you can deal with that. I told him your fee $5,000 for every 5 minutes. So I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna open it up to the people. But as we're talking about it, it's hey, what are the Lakers? The topic, any topic you want, but the two main topics are what is next for the Lakers? How do they get out of this? And is this just who Jayson Tatum is? Is this just, what is we want you, especially you're a big Jayson Tatum fan, you want him to take that next step,
right?
But maybe this is just who he is. And today's point, normally I only do super chats, but I like this question. How do the Lakers not have money, or is that a perception? No, you've got your number one player who's a 40-year-old who is his net worth is more than the owner. Just think about that. LeBron James's net worth is more than Jeannie Buss.
Which is crazy too, Tone, because if Jeannie Buss put the Lakers on the market, what do you think the Lakers go for today? If she decided to sell a crew?
Well, what did the last team sell for?
The last team sold for, I think, wasn't that Charlotte? I think Jordan. Yeah. I think Jordan sold his stake. I think it was $2 billion. I think no,
it was like more. I think it was more closer to 4, which would make the Lakers worth like 6 or 8.
Right.
I'm going to look up. Well, Miner says what he has to say.
What up?
Yeah, I was definitely leaning more toward about $10 billion for the Lakers.
10, that's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna look it up. Well, you guys say what you're gonna say, but I'm gonna
But I got a question. How does if his net worth is that much? If James's net worth is $1 billion, like if you're talking about what is it going to cost to buy a team, and he's going to be a minority owner because he didn't have $1 billion in cash. He's not going to be a majority owner.
No, he needs to find investors.
Yes, huge investors.
100%. Yes, he has to find
huge investors.
Who wouldn't want to team up with LeBron James and invest in an NBA team?
Who wouldn't?
Exactly. I think that'll be easy.
Yeah, I think it would. Of course, he comes with a name. It's going to sell tickets. If this team doesn't do well, ticket wise, they're going to do like they did to Jordan and say, hey, why don't you come back and play for a season to sell some tickets and then screw him out of the team? Like it's been done before. Just so you know, the Lakers, I don't think this is what they're sell for. They're currently valued at $5.9 billion, but
almost $6
billion. Oh no, it's definitely more than that.
I think if they put them on the market, it would definitely sell for more than that.
Let me ask you, gentlemen. We've been talking a lot about coaching. Fluent, I know you're the resident Laker fan. Do you have a ideal coach in mind who you would like to see get the job?
A young Pat Riley. I like Sam Cassell's. I like Sam. I think I really would have liked. Honestly, I was on board with Dan Hurley.
Absolutely.
Right, like
I always felt like that was pie in the sky.
Yeah, me too. But once they said the name, I'm like, it's not JJ Redick. I'm in. But I think it's going to be a guy like I like it being a former player. I like, especially it's a guard. So yeah, I was on board with Sam Cassell. I was really on board for Dan Hurley, but I think it needs to be someone like that. Because the reason I say that too is I think this team's going to transition, whether it's this year or next.
Yeah.
To a young team, and to have a young coach that they can kind of grow together. I like that. I like that dynamic.
I completely agree with that. I think depending on what the team does as far as in the draft, especially if they end up with LeBron's son, I think unfortunately you're definitely
drafted. No, he is not an NBA caliber player. Listen. If there was a guard who had a heart condition, played almost a season, started 6 games for a USC, not a powerhouse team, who averaged 4 points and 2 assists, and his name wasn't James, we would not be having this conversation. So the fact that it's his son, everyone thinks, oh, it's genetics. No, it's not. He's not. If he was any other name, he wouldn't be drafted. Therefore, he shouldn't be drafted. Just period. But sorry, go ahead. Continue.
No, I completely agree with you. I think that we all recognize it, but it is what it is. I think if they do end up getting JJ, the likelihood of the team being bad and them also possibly ended up getting it up with the other James boy, That would be kind of cool to see on the Lakers, don't you? You're not okay. You're not. You don't like that.
42-year-old LeBron with Bryce and
No. LeBron by that time is gone.
oh,
No. I'm saying JJ being the coach, having both of the James boys on the team,
and Dad walking down the sideline, second guessing his every decision.
Absolutely.
See, here's the thing, Minor. That's a circus, man.
Oh, tickets.
Oh, it'll sell a bunch of tickets.
Is that what you're trying to do, Tony? Are you trying to sell tickets, or are you trying to get back to the mountaintop?
I just bought tickets for me and the family to Cirque du Soleil. So yeah, I'm all for a circus. Not with my Lakers.
That's what I'm saying, Tony, because that's what we have right now. We got a clown show. We have a clown show going on in Los Angeles. We don't know. Nobody wants to coach the team. Not only does nobody want to coach the team, we got an aging superstar who's on his way out. We got another one who's, for all intents purposes, an elite big man. However, he may be made of glass. We might have gotten this season might have been an anomaly. He was in the top 10 in the league this year in minutes. How many more seasons am I going to get that from him?
Oh, that was it. That was a one and done.
How many more seasons am I going to get that from him? So with that being said, I'm not sure what exactly it is that we're holding on to here. This is a dog and pony. This is a clown show. What are we doing here?
My only pushback is Bryce is really, really good.
He might. He's
a mid-major Division I player at best right now. That's
what
he is.
He might be good, but we have to see these guys against the right competition. That's why I say if even if Bronny did what he did at Duke, I would look at it significantly better than at USC. So
yeah,
Bryce has to show it on a different level. How many guys do we see dominate the G League and then they come into the NBA and they're useless?
Because of the way every year. It's not because they can't.
As long as they're not from Toronto, quite a few.
Right, because y'all got a farm system up there that's just belting them out. The hell they
doing
really. In Toronto?
We good.
Can I ask you a question, Fluent? You're a little more tapped in with, the NBA goings on. Why isn't Mark Jackson at least getting mentioned? You hear the rumblings, but I've never heard a solid answer.
I didn't hear the name that you said.
Mark Jackson.
Oh, Mark Jackson. He's been blackballed.
Yes, but why?
Religious reasons is the best one that I heard. Is that he was very preachy, and a lot of guys didn't take well to it, which is funny because if you look at the football culture, that's like applauded to a point. Ask him how they treated Mike Singletary in San Francisco. They did not like that about him. So that's everybody that I've ever asked. That has always been the.
And Mike was a good coach too.
Hey, well, he was really
very good.
Say it really loud, but it was that there was people who just were like he took it too far. Like if you remember Mike Singletary, he was more. Remember he had the big cross and he was a preacher every Sunday, and it rubbed people the wrong way. My understanding is like that too, which is crazy because.
Which is kind of ironic because Reggie White was like that too, and they got behind him.
Player different when it's a player versus.
Mike Singletary was a former player. He was one of those guys. But I mean, we've been hearing. Minor, how long have we been hearing about Mark Jackson? For years now. We've been hearing about Mark Jackson since he left the Warriors.
Almost a decade.
Over a decade
Everyone gives him credit for setting up that team for Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
But no one gives him the shot to. I actually said. When they fired, which I didn't agree with, but when they fired Adrian Griffin in Milwaukee, Mark Jackson was the guy they should have hired, not Doc Rivers.
I would not have hated that. And his name never even came up. Nobody even considered.
His name never comes up on any of the coaching jobs.
Done a better job. I guarantee you.
Which is whack. Because if you think about it, if you think about the coaches in the NBA, I am 100% certain that there's some coaches in the NBA that got stuff on them that's way worse than what Mark Jackson did. And he's still coaching.
Sure, he's
100%.
Way worse.
He's coaching in Houston right now. Minor, give me a second. I want you to come back on, but I want to. There's a couple other people on too, so I want to give them a shot. But don't go anywhere.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Mr. Fernandez.
What up?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
We can.
Do you guys think this is something that Jayson Tatum is as a player? Do you guys think he's eventually going to bounce back from this?
I think it's incredible how he's talked about that. Is this him as a player? Now, I'm watching him, and I'm watching him in the NBA Finals particularly. And yeah, I do see some 2022, from him, but I see some 2022 from him off the strength of him worrying about being 2022. That's how I feel like he's playing. He's playing like I have to do everything right. So I'm worried about missing shots. I'm worried about turning the basketball over. When you play like that, you see what happens. I'm on record saying it reminds me of, if you ever seen the movie The Matrix, when Morpheus and Neo are fighting, and Morpheus says to Neo, stop trying to hit me and hit me. Jayson Tatum looks like he's trying to score instead of just scoring. He looks like he's trying to play instead of just playing.
So just turn his brain off type thing,
Not necessarily turn your brain off, because a lot of guys can't do that, but more like put it on autopilot and just play.
That look, as much as that is on Tatum, that is on Mazzulla too, right? It's sometimes you have to do something to get a player out of their own head and just go do what you know how to do, right? Just play. Don't think so much.
Yep.
Don't think so much. Just go out and play. And sometimes a coach has to put them in that position where, whether it's, hey, we're going to run, we've got this play that gets him an easy bucket. And you know how that is. You get an easy bucket, 2 easy buckets. Now everything starts to roll, and it just, you forget and you just start playing. Right. Again, I don't want to, I'm not comparing myself to Jayson Tatum. However, I still play. And on Friday night, I came in cold. I had, I coach baseball. So I came in late. My team was like, dude, we need you to come out. And the first play of the game, they ran me off a double screen so that I can get nice, easy layup. And guess what happened? I missed the damn layup. But man, I got to the hole real easy. Right. Next 3 shots, buckets. Why? Because they helped me get rolling. Sure. If they can do that for a 100-year-old dude, you need to be able to do that for Jayson Tatum. And I guarantee if you get Tatum to the rim with his athleticism, getting a couple of easy buckets, guess what? The 3 starts to drop. He starts to shoot that mid-range a little bit. He starts to go to the hole a little bit more. And he'll stop thinking, because this. Once the ball starts going in, that's all I think about. Right. I don't think about, oh my God, I need to do this. Oh, the team needs me to do that. Oh, last 2 years ago, I did this. It's too much. I think he's in his own head. That comes from his teammates, his coach, him too. But those guys have to help him.
I just see I see him as a guy who is so worried about a repeat performance that he's stepping on his own toes.
Yeah.
That's what
he's doing exactly what he's doing what he did in 22 in terms of scoring.
That's what he's doing the other stuff. And he's doing the other stuff great. I do see a different level of playmaking. I see a different level of defense. I see a different level of distributing. I see a different level of that. But I feel like him being aggressive as a scorer, I think he's worrying himself. And he's worried about being what he was in 2022. Now, what I can't do is I can't ignore it, because James Harden showed me this in the finals in 12, and I ignored it. And I said, this is not who he is. He's just young. When in reality, this really is who he really is. At the end of the day, James Harden is a guy who, in the end, he's going to fold up like a lawn chair. He's going to fold up like a lawn chair.
We've seen both sides, because in 07 and then again in 11, in 07 and 11, that's what we saw from LeBron. But then in 12, we saw a different dude. In 13, we saw a different dude. In 14, even in a loss, we saw a different dude, right? He was a different dude after those first 2. So I don't want to say too quickly on Tatum. Right. But so far, you're right. 2 out of the 3 last years that he's been in the finals, he's done a lot of other things, but he hasn't scored the ball as effortlessly as we would expect.
Do you think it's because of? Do you guys think it's because of mentality? Because like Braun, I think he went into that 3rd finals run thinking, I'm not going to do what I did my last 2 finals run. I can't do that. I think it's mentality with him. And I think that you're right.
Where do you think that mentality came from? That mentality came from a summer of talking to Dwayne Wade, and Dwayne Wade telling him, you got to be you.
Yeah.
Stop worrying about me.
And that's why I said his teammates and coach needs to tell Tatum, hey,
you have to be you.
Jaylen Brown in particular needs to say something to him. Just be like, yo, stop worrying about all this media stuff about you playing like you did in 22. Just play Jayson Tatum brand of basketball. Yeah. Get out of your own head. This is something that his coach should do. Real quick, I want to ask you guys about this Lakers team. Do you guys think I know, Fluent, you told me there's no trading LeBron at all. But do you think there's a world where they could
trade him? I would trade him. I don't see how they actually do it, but I would.
You would? Okay. So do you think there's a world that they could trade AD for picks?
I've been saying they should have traded AD 2 years ago. So yes, the second you get a deal.
I'm going to give you a team, because they have a lot of ones. So I'm going to just throw them out there. OKC for a haul of ones.
That's not enough. We got to get the money. Got to match.
I need players too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
And I know the players that I need. You're not interested in giving.
Yeah, you're not going to give me the guys I want.
Yeah, you're not.
Any teams you guys can come up with?
I'm not taking Lou Dort and 5 firsts,
No.
right? Like I'm going to need Chet. I'm going to need.
I want that kid J-Dub too.
Yeah, like I get that I'm not getting SGA, but at minimum I need Chet, J-Dub, and 3 firsts plus. Yeah, like it's. I don't think they're going to.
One of those two guys.
If they did though, who would they trade him to for picks? For players,
who a good team that he could go to, maybe trade him back to New Orleans, and get
just a team that has like picks, like get
your draft picks back.
They're saying, who do you get back that it's worth it to trade him?
Well, I can tell you who it's not. It's not Brandon Ingram.
No,
right, and we're not going to send him to a bad team. Right.
Could you imagine them trading him back there just to get Brendan Ingram, a guy they already had back?
Right.
I would be so pissed.
They're not trading him to a bad team. They're not trading him to Brooklyn, Toronto. I don't see them trading him to Toronto. Indiana, no. I don't see them trading him to
Chicago.
I heard the Chicago one, but for what?
Chicago.
Right, because DeRozan,
Caruso, maybe some pick. Well, I don't know if Chicago has picks. Caruso.
Chicago trade doesn't work.
Hold on,
Chicago, we'd have to get a third team involved.
We always have to get a third team.
What's a third team we could get involved?
When it's a guy that's high profile like that,
like a player you already had too, right? Like the thing that's going to happen, unfortunately, is they're either going to keep him, right? But if let's play this game, if he moves, the idea is to bring in someone that has the potential to be as good as him, that's younger. And when you look at that reduces it to a very small bunch of people. Like, you're not getting Giannis.
Nope.
It'd be great, but you're not unless Milwaukee decides to blow it up for some reason, which they won't. Are you getting Embiid? That's actually a maybe. It's 10%.
I was thinking about Philly, actually. I was thinking about Embiid, but the thing about it is you're trading a guy made of glass for another guy made of glass.
Yeah, the Lakers aren't doing that.
No. That's what I'm saying. You're trading one problem for another. So the list becomes so short that I don't know. Where's the young?
I'm about to tell you right now. Call up
bottom feeder. Any bottom feeder teams?
Call up Houston. Call up Houston and ask for that kid Sengun.
You think they trade Sengun?
For Anthony Davis? Anthony Davis is a better player than Sengun today. 100%.
True, but he's younger, Chill. Like, he could have a better upside.
And Anthony Davis,
Imagine about 3 years Sengun is an all-pro. In about 3 years.
In 3 years, is Sengun going to be better than what Anthony Davis is right now?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. He could get offensively. He might be better. So you might get more upside offensively.
No, I don't think so.
Because I mean, who do they compare Sengun to?
Here's where the problem lies, is that when I say to get someone who has the potential to be as good as AD with picks, I love you. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So now so that's why I say they won't do it. But let's say they're determined to move him. Well, now you're going to have to get a lesser player. And so now it's going to be, we're going to reach out to one of those bottom feeders, like you said, and get a player who's good, maybe 2 guys that are good with a bunch of picks, and say, okay, now sell them on Jay's idea of the future, right? It's not about, I don't know, Julius Randle and Josh Hart. It's about the 4 first-round draft picks that we're getting. And that's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough pill to swallow, right? Like, G Cuts here is like Miami. Okay, so who do you want for Miami? Well, you want Bam. Well, does Bam really move the needle? Do they move for Bam for AD? No, they're not doing that. So if it's Sengun, it's Sengun and someone and a bunch of
the money match.
Make the money match. So that's where it gets. That's why I say you're not going to get those 5 guys that are AD potential. I don't see how they move him. Whereas when I said to do it 2 years ago, when he went on that crazy 10-game run, his stock was so high, you could have got anyone. You could have got anyone.
So you guys are so what you're telling me here, you could have called up Milwaukee and asked for Giannis. Situation then.
Yeah.
You guys are essentially in a muddy situation because you guys can't move off of AD.
They just extended him.
Yeah, we're screwed.
They just extended him for 3 years at $192 million.
Damn. Who's to blame for this, though?
Rob
To
Pelinka.
put you guys in this situation.
Rob Pelinka has to take the blame because at the end of the day, it's his decision. So when that team traded everything they had for AD to win one chip, and everyone said, "Oh, it was worth it. They won a chip." No, this is the Lakers. With all due respect, we don't trade everything for one chip. Okay, we build for multiple chips. And the guys that they had on that team, right, the Josh Harts, the Brendan Ingrams, the Alex Carusos, all of those guys, they were better collectively than AD, and that team in a year or two would have won a chip and had the opportunity to win more. They sold all that out for AD. Then when they won, they found a formula that worked, which was AD at the 4, and they had Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee at the 5, and they had defenders, and I think Kuzma was still on that team. Alex Caruso was on that team. That was still a good unit. And they said, as long as we have AD and LeBron, we're good. And they moved off all of those guys. And that's why we're in the situation we're in today, is because he allowed that to happen.
Yeah. Hi, Jay. Good to talk to you,
Jay.
brother.
Leaf is next up in the building.
Yep. What up?
Leaf Diggy, he got something to say. I like
it's real simple, man.
Is it? How simple is it?
Did we lose him?
So simple that it's Mike.
Yeah, we had him and we lost him.
You better call Verizon. Your internet is wonky.
We had him and we lost him. See if we can get Leaf back.
All right. Well, he figures that out. I'll put the link back in the. Just hit me up in the chat, Leaf, when your internet's back and working, and I'll bring you back in. I'm choking. The Fluent children are off to bed. We don't have to talk Lakers. We don't have to talk Lakers. We can talk something else.
Yeah. And again, Tone, this, we haven't talked about this enough tonight. This Porzingis injury is, if I'm not mistaken, I want to make sure that I get it correct, right? I want to make sure that I get it correct and understand exactly what it is. Celtics center Kristaps Porzingis suffered a torn medial rectus. I want to make sure that I read this right.
Hold on. Well, you read that. I want to read something to you. Stanley Cup Finals. Boy, were you wrong about the Florida Panthers. Up 2-0. They look unbeatable.
We'll see. We'll see what happens when they come back when they come to Edmonton. They got to get on that plane and travel 2,500 miles. We'll see what happens. Yep.
Yeah, there you go, Joe.
I don't know if I'm saying this right. Retina cumula. I'm definitely saying that wrong. Allowing dislocation of the posterior tibialis tendon in his leg. That just sounds bad, Tone. Even though,
like, it sounds like a muscle that starts around the knee, goes right up to his ass.
Yeah, it just sounds bad.
Run
right?
With
It just sounds terrible. And because it sounds bad, first of all, I didn't even want him to come back for the playoffs. I was down to preserve.
Yeah, you did say that.
And it was obvious that they didn't need him because they ended up in the finals.
Well, they needed him. It looked like they needed him in game. Now, who knows what would have happened, but
right.
They needed him in game 1 enough.
Right.
Because I think he was the difference in game 1.
Right. And with that being said, I don't want to risk losing him. Right. I don't want to risk losing him for the rest of this series. And then next year, where this thing might be worse. So what they've done, Tone, is they've actually taken the decision out of his hands. And now this is now a team decision. Because what we got to do here is we got to save you from you. We have to save you from you because we know for a fact it's the finals. So we're not going to be able to talk you out of it. We're not going to be able to go, yo, do you want to play? We know for a fact you're going to go, yes.
Protect him. You got to protect him.
Hell yes. Hell yes, I want to play.
And Joa, you say the front of the leg. Sorry, I thought you said posterior. So he dislocated something in the front of his leg. Okay.
Right.
Either way.
So with that being said, this team moving forward, I feel like it's more important. Don't get me wrong, Tone. Ain't no guarantee we coming back next year. There's no guarantee that we coming back next year. So you got to get what you can get when you can get it. I get all of that, right? I take no issue with that. I get all of that. But if this is worse than what I think it is, even though they're telling us this is a day-to-day injury, I'm thinking to myself, man, if this is a day-to-day injury, it sounds a lot worse, right? It sounds a lot worse than what it sounds a lot worse than what you're telling me. And I don't want to risk losing this guy, not just for this season, for the rest of the season. I don't want to risk losing him for next year. And he's been injury prone. Don't forget,
Right.
Tony tore his knee up.
It's not like it's not like he has a history of being healthy. He has a history of being injured. Yeah, 100%.
Tore his knee up with the Knicks. He got hurt in Washington. Here he is. He only played 57 games this year with the Celtics. And I think they did a good job in preserving him. And he still ended up breaking down. I think he got hurt in game 3 against the Heat. So don't get me wrong. He's still a difference with the Celtics.
Listen, you got the game that you needed and the win. You got what you needed from him. You need to sit him. Miners in the chat here saying the same thing. You need to sit him and
I
just
think that's enough, Tone, to be honest with you.
Without him.
I do. I think I think he's done enough for you that we don't need him for the rest of the series. I think we can win this thing without him. I do. I think we can win this. And if you are gonna play him,
limit it. No, I don't think you should. No, I said limit him, and then I said no. You sit him down.
Like it. No,
Boston fans, I'm sorry.
You can't handle the truth.
I don't like it, man. No, I don't. I don't like it, and I think it's best that you sit him. You already extended him, which means you got him for another 3 more seasons.
You got him. Yep.
Right. I already got him under contract for another 3 more seasons. So where does this leave the Boston Celtics? Okay, because that stretch 5.
You need Al Horford to play extended minutes for 2 games, for 2 wins. That's what you and that other guy. What's I always forget his name. Cornette. Yes, which is not ideal, but I think this team has shown that they're deep enough. And if Tatum plays the way Tatum should play, that we've talked enough about this episode,
I was moving toward too.
He's got to step it up. Because if you keep getting what you're getting out of Drew, keep getting what you're getting out of Jalen, keep getting what you're getting right from Derek White, from the Pritchard, from Hauser, all those other guys, it's just Tatum needs to. It's that defense, anyways, right? Like I think they win these games. I think Luka goes off. I think you focus on those other guys, and I think you still win. And that's where you need to put your focus. Before we move on, however, I don't know if you've gone to fluent.printify.me, but there's that beautiful. Do you see that Fluent and Chill shirt right there? I don't know if you see these shirts. These are actually my favorites. I don't know if you. I'm going to zoom in on this one for you. No casuals. The choice of players.
Like that.
I like that. You got Chill. You got LeBron. This one I made special for you right here. This one I made special for you. King James, the King James tee with the 40. I don't know if you can see it or not. Yeah, there it is.
10,
yeah, 40, 11, and 11.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That is a crazy number. Of course, you got your Air Goat. This is the Sports Fluent hoodie established in 2020. This one, the Sports Scene, another show on our network. That's pretty cool. Some hats. Fluent and Chill hat is actually. I have one. I should have worn it. It's actually very comfortable. Choice of players hoodie. Leafs Lounge if you like hockey. All American Hoops. This is the #1 selling shirt, by the way. All American Hoops that's the #1 selling shirt we got. Fluent and Chill, of course. The Hoopstorians coming on in 6 minutes. They're going to do the they're going to rank the best individual performance in the NBA Finals in history. We got next, which is Paul McKeskey. This is your shirt right here. Take it light, but take it. We're going to get to that in a minute. Now, I got to be honest with you. I'm going to redo this shirt. Now you're more fluent. I'm going to redo this shirt. You have no idea how good Timmy D was, and of course, call your mother. So go cop some merch because it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Check it out.
I'm definitely getting some of them shirts.
Sir.
Those are awesome.
And the beauty of it, because for those that know me, as you know from all these crazy backgrounds that I've been flicking around, I make those all myself. So if there's any shirt that doesn't exist today, just say the word. I'll make it. I will make it.
Mm-hmm.
All
what
right.
up,
Minor? Any other words of wisdom before you stayed on? So I figured you might have a couple more.
Man, we're gonna have a good series now that Porzingis ain't gonna play. We got a series now, ladies and gentlemen.
Do you think this changes the dynamic?
Absolutely. I think this now allows the Dallas Mavericks to get back to playing their style of ball where they can throw the lobs. there's a lot. This definitely opens it up for their bigs to be more active. The defense that Porzingis was giving them inside the paint is now essentially gone. There is no longer any real paint presence.
Okay, let me pause you there and pose a question to you two guys then. The Celtics lose the next 3 games without Porzingis.
Ooh.
And the Mavericks are killing them inside, lobs to Lively, lobs to Gafford, etc. It's now game 6. Porzingis says, "Hey, I can give you one.
No.
I can give you one, guys. I can give you one for the Gipper.
Another one.
Let him."
I'm not with that Willis Reed stuff or that OG Anunoby. No.
So you just
No.
say,
Do not care.
Nope.
we do not care. We're sitting. You're done.
Nope. I think he's done.
No.
Tone. Absolutely.
Even
not.
if it means costing you the series.
But
Yes.
from what I'm understanding, even as big as they are with Gafford and Lively, who looks at a place, he does not look like he's prepared to play in this series. I think you got to dig deeper into your bench. You got bigs on your bench. I'm a big Cater fan. I remember Cater earlier in the season, and I remember his ability to rim protect. I remember his ability to rebound. That's why Jayson Tatum would have to step up his offense. That's why he would have to step up his scoring. And if I got a guy who can slow down Gafford, I got a guy who can defend Lively. If I got a big in Cornette and a big in Cater who can just defend those guys, and we can handle our business on the wing, I like what we're doing. I do. And now, don't get me wrong, Porzingis gives us a dynamic that we didn't have last year. He gives us that stretch 5 that we didn't have. So basically what we would be back to is we would be back to having Robert Williams, basically a poor man's Robert Williams, where we got a guy that's just defending the rim, that's rebounding. And I think that that's good enough where now Jayson Tatum, he's got to step up his scoring. Jaylen Brown, he's going to have to make up for that. Drew Holiday is going to have to make up for that. Derek White's going to have to make up for that. Al Horford is going to have to make up for that because Al Horford can stretch the defense. You can still run a lot of your man-to-man action. You can still get the switches that you were going to get with KP in the lineup. You still were going to get that. However, these guys, Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum in particular, his scoring has to go up, and it has to go up immensely. Like 18 ain't enough to beat these dudes if KP is off the floor. 18 a game is not enough. You got to step your game up. You have to.
Can I pose a question? Do you think the Mavericks go after Al Horford even more now, knowing that there is no good backup? There is no KP coming back in if Horford gets into foul trouble.
Well, they didn't really play at the rim, with the exception of Luka. They didn't really attack the rim. They actually are doing a really good job at protecting Al Horford, not necessarily at the rim, but on the perimeter. If you watch Drew Holiday gets around those screens that are made for Luka. Drew Holiday gets around those screens that are made for Kyrie Irving, where he's beating him to spots where Kyrie Irving can't get downhill or put him in jail. They're actually not allowing Al Horford to get put in those switches as much. Dallas runs this action where they get 3 switches. And the 3 switches that they get these 3 switches where they get the big man at the last part of that switch, where they can get the big man to switch. Only except Drew Holiday or Derek White, those guys won't switch, depending on the guy who's got the ball. If it's Derek White, we can switch that. If it's Exum, we can switch that. But if it's Kyrie Irving, if they switch that, what they immediately do is they keep a guy close to Al Horford where he can jump him. And they won't allow Kyrie Irving and Al Horford to be on the perimeter by themselves. He won't allow those guys to keep Al Horford 25 feet away from the basket by himself. No, they'll have guys close enough that whenever that switch happens, we can jump Kyrie Irving, we can jump Luka, or we can jump any one of those other guys.
And I was going to say, if it was somebody else, I'd say, yeah, I'd go after him early and see if I can get him into foul trouble and out of the game, because now it gives another advantage. I think Al Horford, one, there's scheme, just like Jay said, but also I think he's too smart to fall for it. Now, I think if you get lucky and he gets a couple of early ones, okay, cool. But I think if you target him, I think it works to your disadvantage because it'll take you out of what you're trying to do because you're trying to go after him. And I think he's too smart to fall for it. Yeah, if you get lucky and you do it, 100%. Our time, however, is up. So let me say thank you very much.
Appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate you, Miner.
Always appreciate it, gentlemen.
I want you guys to win. I want you guys to win $20,000. Here's 30 seconds on
Join
how.
our Wrecked Rally trading competition and get up to $20,000 in rewards.
Yeah.
Reliably trade ERC 20 tokens at lightning speed. No need for Uniswap or slippage problems. Climb the leaderboard and be the best. Trade with Starbot and get protected from MEV attacks. Win $20,000 by trading any ERC 20 token. Do you want to be a loser or a winner? Trade now and get rewards with Starbot.
So that's your way to win $20,000. And that's it for this week on Fluent and Chill. Jay?
I think by this time next week, Tom, I think we're going to have an NBA champion. I think by this time next week, we're going to have an NBA champion. I think so. I definitely think so.
If we don't, we're in good shape.
We are in really good shape.
But I think you're right. I think
by this time next week, we're going to have an NBA champion. So I'm looking forward to it. But until then, put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother. I just saw my mother this weekend. Literally just saw my mother this weekend. My niece graduated grammar school. It was great. It was great to see my mother. It was great to talk to her. So we will see you guys soon. And I did tell her that you said hi. Yes, I did. And we will see you guys soon. But until then, take it light. Take it.